Failure is the moment that exposes the truth most people try to avoid. It doesn't arrive loudly or dramatically. It settles in quietly, making you question your ability, your timing, and even your worth. In that moment, quitting feels like relief. It feels reasonable, it feels safe, but that exact feeling is what separates the people who disappear from the people who eventually win. Because success is not decided when things are easy or when motivation is high. It is decided right here, in the middle of doubt, where continuing feels heavy and uncertain. If you can stay in this moment without running from it, without numbing it, without giving up on yourself, you begin to step away from the crowd and closer to the life you say you want. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is the training ground where success is built. Every failure you experience is quietly shaping the exact skills that future success will demand from you. Not the skills you wish you had, not the skills you think you need, but the real, uncomfortable, battle-tested skills that only pain, resistance, and repeated mistakes can teach. Most people never see this while they're inside the failure. All they feel is embarrassment, doubt, exhaustion, and the heavy question of, what's wrong with me? But nothing is wrong with you. You are in the process. Failure is not punishing you. It is educating you in a language that only those who are serious about growth will ever learn to understand. Think about how skills are actually formed. No one develops patience, discipline, resilience, emotional control, or strategic thinking by having everything work out the first time. Those qualities are not born from comfort. They are carved out of frustration. When something fails, your brain is forced to analyze. Your emotions are forced to mature. Your ego is forced to quiet down. You begin to notice patterns. You start asking better questions. You become sharper, more aware, more deliberate. Failure pushes you out of autopilot and into awareness, and awareness is where skill lives. Take Thomas Edison, a name everyone knows, but rarely understood deeply. People love to repeat the line that he failed 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. But what they miss is what those failures gave him. Each failed attempt taught him something specific about materials, resistance, heat, and durability. He wasn't repeating the same mistake blindly. He was refining his understanding. By the time he succeeded, he wasn't just lucky, he was skilled beyond anyone else in that room. His final success was not a single moment of brilliance. It was the inevitable result of accumulated lessons that only failure could provide. If he had stopped at failure number 50, the world would have called him a quitter. Because he continued, history calls him a genius. Now, bring this closer to home. Think about someone learning to speak confidently, start a business, create content, or chase any meaningful goal. The first attempts are almost always awkward. Words don't come out right. Decisions feel clumsy. Results don't match expectations. That discomfort is not proof that you're bad at it. It's proof that you're learning. Every failed conversation teaches social awareness. Every rejected idea teaches clarity. Every poor result teaches refinement. Over time, you begin to speak with confidence, not because you were born confident, but because failure taught you what not to say, when to pause, and how to read the room. Consider Oprah Winfrey. Early in her career, she was fired from her job as a television news anchor and told she was unfit for TV. Imagine hearing that when your dream depends on your voice and presence. That failure could have crushed her. Instead, it forced her to confront what made her different. She learned that her emotional connection, her empathy, her ability to listen deeply were not weaknesses. They were her strength. That painful rejection refined her skill set. It redirected her toward a format that demanded exactly what she had learned through that failure. Her success didn't arrive despite being fired. It arrived because of what that failure taught her about herself. Failure also builds emotional skills that success alone can never touch. When things go wrong, you learn how to sit with disappointment without collapsing. You learn how to manage fear without letting it control your decisions. You learn how to stand back up when no one is clapping for you. These emotional muscles are invisible, but they are the reason some people survive pressure while others break under it. Success demands emotional stability, patience, and self-trust. Failure is the gym where those muscles are trained. Look at athletes, for example. No champion becomes great by winning every match early in their career. Losses teach timing, strategy, endurance, and humility. Michael Jordan was famously cut from his high school basketball team. That rejection didn't just hurt, it sharpened him. It taught him discipline, relentless work ethic, and mental toughness. Every missed shot taught him precision. Every lost game taught him composure under pressure. By the time he dominated the NBA, he wasn't just physically talented. He was psychologically prepared. His failures built the exact mindset his success demanded. Failure also forces honesty. When something fails, excuses stop working. You are faced with reality. Either you grow, or you repeat the same pain. This is where real skill development happens. You start to see where you rushed, where you lacked preparation, where you avoided discomfort. Failure exposes gaps in your ability that success hides. And once you see those gaps, you have the power to fill them. Think of a student who fails an important exam. In that moment, it feels like the end. Shame, fear, and self-doubt rush in. But if that student reflects honestly, they often discover poor time management, shallow understanding, or inconsistent effort. Those realizations are painful, but they are valuable. The next time, that student studies smarter, not harder. They plan better. They ask better questions. The failure didn't label them as incapable. It trained them in the skills required to succeed the next time. Failure also teaches adaptability. Life never follows a straight line, and success demands the ability to adjust when plans break. When something doesn't work, you are forced to pivot, rethink, and innovate. These skills are priceless in business, creativity, relationships, and personal growth. People who fear failure often freeze when circumstances change. People who have failed often move fluidly because they've already survived uncertainty before. J.K. Rowling is another powerful example. Before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, she faced rejection after rejection from publishers. She was broke, struggling, and doubting herself. Those failures taught her persistence. They taught her how to refine her storytelling, how to believe in her work, even when no one else did. By the time success arrived, she had the resilience to handle criticism, pressure, and fame. Her failures didn't delay her success. They prepared her to carry it. There is also a quiet confidence that failure builds, one that is far deeper than surface-level motivation. When you fail and survive, something inside you changes. You stop fearing outcomes as much. You realize that disappointment won't destroy you. That realization frees you to take bigger risks, to show up more fully, to commit deeply. Success demands courage, and courage is born from repeated encounters with fear that didn't kill you. Failure teaches patience in a world addicted to instant results. It slows you down enough to understand process. You begin to respect time, effort, and consistency. You stop chasing shortcuts and start building foundations. Skills that last are never rushed. Failure enforces this truth, whether you like it or not. Even in relationships, failure builds the skills success demands. A failed relationship teaches communication, boundaries, emotional intelligence, and self-awareness. It shows you what you tolerate, what you need, and what you must improve. Healthy relationships are not formed by luck. They are formed by lessons learned, often painfully, from past mistakes. The problem is not failure. The problem is quitting before failure finishes teaching you. Every failure carries a lesson, but only those who stay long enough receive it. When you walk away too early, you walk away untrained. But when you stay, reflect, and try again, you emerge sharper, stronger, and more capable. So when you fail, don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask, "What skill is this trying to build in me?" Is it patience, discipline, focus, courage? Emotional control, strategic thinking, because success will eventually demand that exact skill from you, and life is making sure you're ready before handing it over. One day, you will look back and realize that the moments you wanted to escape were the moments that shaped you most. The failures that embarrassed you, refined you. The setbacks that slowed you, prepared you. The pain that tested you, trained you. Nothing was wasted. If you are failing right now, you are not behind. You are in training. Stay present. Learn deliberately. Apply what this moment is teaching you. Because when success finally arrives, it will not feel like luck. It will feel familiar. It will feel earned. And you will realize that every failure you survived was quietly turning you into the person capable of holding the life you once dreamed about. Failure is the moment where the path quietly splits, even though most people don't realize it at the time. On the surface, it looks like the same road for everyone, same dream, same struggle, same starting energy. But the first real failure acts like an invisible gate. Some people turn back, others keep walking. That is where the separation happens. Not at the moment of success, not at the moment of talent being discovered, but in the private, painful moment when quitting feels logical, justified, even necessary. Failure does not decide who is capable. It reveals who is willing to continue when capability alone is no longer enough. When failure hits, it strips away motivation and exposes commitment. Anyone can feel inspired when progress is fast and results are visible. Anyone can work hard when praise is coming in and the future looks clear. But when failure shows up, the rewards disappear. Applause goes silent. Doubt gets loud. That is when people face the most honest question of their life. Do I want this badly enough to suffer for it without guarantees? Those who quit answer that question with silence. Those who win answer it with action, even if their hands are shaking. Think about how many people start strong. New gym memberships in January, new YouTube channels, new businesses, new goals. In the beginning, energy is high because hope is high. But then reality arrives. Views are low. Sales don't come. The body gets sore. The mind gets tired. Failure shows up not as a dramatic collapse, but as slow discouragement. This is where most people leave. Not because they are weak, but because quitting offers immediate relief. It ends the discomfort. It protects the ego. It allows them to say, "It wasn't meant for me anyway." Failure becomes the exit ramp they were secretly waiting for. Those who win experience the same failure, but they interpret it differently. To them, failure is not a verdict, it is a test. It asks, will you still show up when this stops feeling good? They don't continue because they feel confident. They continue because stopping would mean betraying the future version of themselves they believe in. Winning is not about never wanting to quit. Every winner has wanted to quit. The difference is that they didn't obey that urge. Look at Elon Musk in the early days of SpaceX. Rockets were exploding. Money was disappearing. Experts were laughing. At one point, he was weeks away from total collapse financially and emotionally. Most people would have quit and called it responsible. Failure was screaming that this dream was unrealistic. But he kept going, betting everything on one last launch. That launch succeeded, and it changed the entire future of private space travel. The difference between failure and victory wasn't intelligence or resources. It was refusal to quit when failure made quitting look reasonable. Failure is persuasive. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It tells you to rest, just for a while, to postpone until you feel ready, to pivot to something safer. Over time, those whispers turn into a permanent silence where dreams once lived. Winners hear the same whispers, but they treat them as background noise. They understand that discomfort is not a signal to stop, it's a signal that something meaningful is happening. Consider a relatable story. A young person trying to build a skill, maybe public speaking, writing, or content creation. The first attempts feel embarrassing. Views are low, feedback is harsh, or non-existent. Friends don't take it seriously. Failure shows up as invisibility. Most people stop right there. They tell themselves they're not talented enough, not lucky enough, not special enough. The ones who win feel the same insecurity, but they keep posting, keep practicing, keep refining. Months later, when success finally appears, outsiders call it overnight. What they don't see is the graveyard of quitters who started at the same time and disappeared when failure tested them. Failure also reveals how much your identity is tied to results. Many people quit because failure makes them feel small. It threatens how they see themselves. Quitting becomes a way to escape that feeling. Winners separate who they are from what they're experiencing. They understand that failing at something does not mean being a failure. This mental separation is powerful. It allows them to endure losses without internal collapse. They don't let failure define them. They let it refine them. J.K. Rowling faced rejection after rejection before Harry Potter was published. Each rejection letter was an opportunity to quit with dignity. She could have told herself that the industry didn't want her, that she was wasting time, that it was unrealistic. Failure gave her every excuse to stop. She didn't. That persistence separated her from thousands of writers who quit with manuscripts unfinished and dreams abandoned. The difference wasn't imagination, it was endurance. Failure also tests patience, and patience is where most people lose. We live in a world that rewards speed and highlights outcomes, not process. Social media shows success without showing the years of struggle underneath. When your reality doesn't match what you see online, failure feels personal. People assume they're behind. They quit to avoid feeling left out. Winners accept that their timeline will look different. They understand that staying in the game longer than others is an advantage, not a weakness. Think of a boxer training for a championship. Losing early fights is common. Getting knocked down is part of the process. The ring doesn't care about your excuses. It exposes everything. Many fighters quit after a few losses, convinced they're not built for it. The ones who become champions use those losses as information. Failure separates them by filtering out those unwilling to endure repeated hits in pursuit of mastery. Failure also reveals how badly you want something when no one is watching. When results are absent, external validation disappears. No likes, no praise, no recognition. Quitting becomes invisible and therefore easy. Winners continue even when no one knows they're trying. That quiet persistence compounds. Over time, the gap between those who stayed and those who quit becomes massive. There is a painful truth most people avoid. Many dreams die not because they are impossible, but because the owner couldn't survive the failure required to reach them. Success is rarely blocked by lack of ability. It's blocked by lack of tolerance for discomfort. Failure is the price of entry. Those who refuse to pay it are politely escorted out. Failure also teaches humility, and humility keeps winners learning. Quitters often stop because failure wounds their pride. They would rather protect their ego than improve their skills. Winners accept being beginners, being wrong, being slow. They don't see failure as humiliation. They see it as tuition. Every lesson paid for with struggle makes them harder to replace. Even in everyday life, this separation happens constantly. Someone fails a driving test and never tries again. Someone else fails, practices more, and passes. Someone gets rejected from a job and stops applying. Someone else improves their resume and keeps going. Same failure, different outcome. The separator is not talent, it's persistence. Failure is fair in a strange way. It doesn't choose favorites, it visits everyone. The only difference is how long it stays. For quitters, failure is the end of the story. For winners, it's a chapter. That choice determines everything. If you're facing failure right now, understand this clearly. You are standing at the exact point where winners are created. This discomfort is not a sign that you should stop. It is proof that you have reached the level where most people disappear. If you quit now, you will blend into the crowd of those who almost tried. If you continue, you separate yourself, not immediately, not dramatically, but permanently. Action does not require confidence. It requires decision. Decide that quitting is not an option today. Decide to show up once more, make one more attempt, learn one more lesson. Winners are not people who never doubt themselves. They are people who act despite doubt. One day, when success finally finds you, you will realize something powerful. The competition wasn't other people. It was the version of you that wanted to quit. Failure didn't block your path, it cleared it by removing everyone unwilling to endure it. Stay. Persist. Let failure do its work. Because on the other side of this moment is not just success, but the undeniable proof that you became someone who refused to walk away from their own potential. So if you're standing in that uncomfortable space right now, tired, doubting yourself, questioning whether it's worth continuing, understand this. This moment is not here to break you. It's here to define you. This is where your future is being decided quietly, without an audience. You don't need to feel fearless. You don't need to feel ready. You only need to refuse to walk away. Take the lesson, not the loss. Take the pain, but don't take it as a verdict. Let failure sharpen you, not shrink you. Show up one more day. Make one more attempt. Improve one small thing. Because the people who eventually win are not the ones with perfect confidence or perfect timing. They are the ones who stayed when quitting felt reasonable. If you commit to that mindset today, your life will start changing in ways you can't yet see. And one day, you'll look back at this exact moment and realize this was the point where you chose growth over comfort, purpose over fear, and becoming over quitting.